Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. As we continue our week-long focus on progressives in the Catholic Church, we've come across some very interesting information. As John Paul II often stated, the Church's mission is to evangelize. That means bring people to the faith. In short, converts. So we asked ourselves, what's happened to the Church in terms of converts since the mid-1960s? We picked the mid-1960s because it was the time period that many pinpoint as the rise of progressivism, the sort of ascendancy of the progressives. Quick sidebar, remember, progressives are what liberals call themselves today. So with the mission of the Church being to convert the world in order to bring salvation to all mankind, it's time for a reality check. According to Georgetown's Center for Applied Research in the Apostolate, that's a number-crunching organization for Catholic data, the overall percentage of U.S. Catholics has remained essentially unchanged since 1965. As a matter of fact, it's slightly less. Then, in 1965, it was 24%. Today, it's 22%. 22% of the overall United States population is Catholic. In 1965, there were about 46 million U.S. Catholics. Today, there are about 65 million. That's good growth, you might say, until you look deeper into the numbers. It just so happens that in 1965, the U.S. government relaxed the immigration laws tremendously, and the number of immigrants to the U.S. skyrocketed, so that from 1965 to 2007, the number of the first generation of immigrants living in the United States has quadrupled from 9 million to about 38 million, an immigrant population increase of nearly 30 million. About two-thirds of them have been from heavily Catholic countries like Mexico and the Philippines. That trend continues even till today. As of last year, according to the U.S. government, the largest immigrant populations were from, in their order, Mexico, India, and then the Philippines. So from 1965 to 2008, more than 18 million Catholics came to the U.S. as immigrants. So what does this mean when you put the Catholic immigrant number next to the overall U.S. Catholic population number? It means that almost every bit of growth in the Church in the United States for the past 40-plus years was due solely to immigration. There are 19 million more Catholics in the U.S. today than there were in 1965, and in those same years, slightly more than 18 million Catholics immigrated. In other words, if it were not for the immigration of Mexican and Asian Catholics, the Church in America would have shrunk to just 15% of the total population. What does this have to do with the progressive movement in the Catholic Church in the United States? Progressives don't believe in evangelization. They don't believe the Catholic Church is unique and all people are called to her. That they don't believe this is manifestly true because they reject so many of her teachings. This explains the abysmal numbers when it comes to adult conversions to the faith in the United States. Who's going to want to join a religion whose loudest voices insist that all religions are essentially the same? As we touched on earlier this week, progressives do not accept absolutes. They dismiss them out of hand. When it comes to religion, you will never find a Catholic who styles himself a progressive insisting that the Catholic Church is the one true church established by Jesus Christ to which all men are called. You will not hear them say that. The reason is because they don't believe it. And to think, for 45 years, these progressives have essentially run the day-to-day operations of the Church, spreading their poison of kumbaya Catholicism and all paths lead to God theology. Leaving the issue of immigration for a moment, let's focus on the issue of conversions. In 1960, 146,000 Americans converted to the faith. There were 40 million Catholics in the Church at that time. That's a rate of about one new convert for every 280 Catholics. Not especially good for a church whose mission is to evangelize. But in 2008, the latest year for which numbers are available, 124,000 converts came to the faith. There were 65 million Catholics in the U.S. at the time. That's a rate of one new convert for every 1,000 Catholics. That number tells you everything you need to know. After nearly a half-century of progressives leading the way, the faith has become by and large irrelevant to even Catholics. The church's God-given mission of evangelization has simply been thrown overboard by progressives. They don't care about making converts to anything other than their own version of Catholicism, which, by the way, is absolutely not Catholicism. The progressive experiment in the church, if you can call it that, has proven to be a disaster. It's time to call an end. I'm Michael Voris.
Please help us keep delivering these kinds of messages that so desperately need to be heard and acted on. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber. Become immersed in the faith established by Jesus Christ. The Catholic Church is the only hope against evil because that is its God-given mission. As our Lord said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Join RealCatholicTV.com today as a premium subscriber and come to learn and love Christ more deeply.